Welcome to Sober.Coffee, a weekly coffee chat sharing experience, strength, and hope for anyone on the sober road to recovery. You can download Sober.Coffee weekly on all podcast platforms and check us out on Instagram at Sober.Coffee Podcast and on Twitter at Sober.Coffee Pod. To learn more about us and to help support these sessions, visit online at Sober.Coffee. Here are your hosts, two guys on their own path to recovery, Mike and Glenn. Let's join them at the coffee shop.
Glenn.
Hey, what's up, Mikey? How you doing, brother?
Doing really well.
Back in the coffee shop, are you really?
Flip of the year, things are starting to take course for 2024, and it's just weird to be living sober,
I know. I normally have like big charts and what I'm going to do. Since 2018, I've posted the best year of my life every single year. Since 2018 and 23, it was just amazing. And I normally have charts and flip charts and PowerPoints.
Did you plan for the growth and then execute on it, or did growth just happen?
No, 23 I planned and executed on 90% of it. Mm-hmm. 2024, I'm so busy executing in 23, I really didn't build a new plan for 24. I think what I told you was
just do more of what you're doing.
Just kind of keep doing what I'm doing, right? And what I have found on this path, on this sober path, sobriety is a superpower, right? Excellence will find me. Yeah. Something will come up, right? And it's like, hey, I want you to do this. So I don't know, man, but welcome 2024, and we're rocking and rolling. And I always love getting in the coffee shop with you.
Yeah, it's been funny. We've been on a run probably for the last 8 episodes or so, and everything is, clipping along. We've had some great guests, really good guests, and I don't know. I think I was thinking, because I go back and listen to these to write the blogs, and then I think sometimes people think we take this like not serious enough. Other times I think we're over serious. I don't know what the fine line is. I mean, it's a serious disease that had me
crushed us.
Crushed me.
Crushed us to the cliff of death.
But now I'm giddy.
Not just saying those words, that is fact.
Right. Now I'm giddy because I'm not there anymore, but I forget sometimes. I just appreciate so much what I have. I have a tendency to forget that there are other people out there in agony. And so when we're doing quick little jokes, I'm like, okay, my bad. I mean, I'm very serious about my sobriety, but in the same breath, are you sensing my struggle?
No, totally. And that's kind of what we want to chat about today is, let's just call it the ugly side of sobriety, right? Mm-hmm. Or maybe not ugly side, but the real side of sobriety. Because, let's just put a couple things out there first, right? So one is most of us, and I've talked to 1,000 alcoholics, so I can say, statistically, what I'm going to say is probably true. Most of us learned, especially drinking, to fake through stuff, right? To not be real, fake through, and especially when you're hungover, let me pretend like I'm not hungover, let me pretend like I'm not drunk, and you're just right. So in sobriety, one of the things that I noticed is I was becoming real. I was becoming a genuine Glenn. And then what happened is over time, I became okay. The genuine Glenn was okay to be, right? Mm-hmm. Now, in sobriety, we talk about, hey, unicorns and rainbows and the pink cloud, and we talk about, oh, let's have fun and let's have all this stuff, right? And that's, but we really, and I think that's okay, right? Because we were in so much pain, it's okay to have some unicorns and rainbows, but I think like you said, excuse me, there's some real pain out there. For
still
people,
breathing.
Especially coming out of the holidays, man. I mean, everybody's like, hey, ho, ho, ho. There are people that are in absolute pain being crushed through the holidays. I talk to them, so I know that for a fact. I'm not just saying that. I know that. And, I just, I got a text this week, and that's kind of what I just want to throw out there and just chat through it, and process it, I guess. because when you're out there working with people and for people in sobriety, and you're putting content, we're doing a podcast, and we just don't know. You just don't know the impact you're having on people, right? And sometimes we get some feedback, and it's cool feedback, and hey, you guys are funny, and I know they're talking about you, and I get it, and but it's cool stuff. But there is a guy who I connected with probably, let's just say, 9 to 12 months, right? He's a guy. He's from L.A. and he's like a sober rapper dude, right? Trying to find sobriety, trying to live sobriety. And we connected, and probably once a week, right? Maybe once a week, once every week and a half or so, maybe 2 weeks, right?
Is this text or
Text. No, I'm
X.
sorry. It's
Twitter.
We were on Instagram.
Instagram, okay.
But also Twitter. I mean, he's around, right? And I mean, he's trying to live his sober life day at a time, and he's going through a lot of struggles, right? Going through a lot of struggles, and I was trying to give him some insight because they're the same struggles that I went through, and I'm like, hey, here's what I did, and some other guys I know, like you, I always tell your stories, and I'm like, hey, man, there's a solution. That's my common theme when I work with people. I'm like, man, there is a solution. It may not be today, and suffer better is another one of mine, and so I never talked to the guy. He's got a cool sober rap song out there that was part of his, profile stuff. I don't know if he did it or somebody else did it, but really cool sober rap song, and I really related to it. And so we connected. And this week, let's just process this together. Are you cool with that?
Yeah, I'm cool.
Yeah, so I get this message from him, and he says, I'm going to commit suicide. I'm just letting you know I tried. And that was it, man. His profile went dark. He removed his profile. I can't find him anywhere. And that was 3 days ago, and I'm like, I'm hoping he pops up somewhere. I'm hoping he reaches out. I'm hoping he whatever. He knows my stuff, right? And we've connected for almost a year, and I'm like, man, that is such an ugly side of sobriety, and we've known people, we've gone to funerals, folks that have gone that route, and it's just a challenge, man. And my first reaction is, what could I have done better? How could I have supported him better, right? I reflected on that. I'm like, hey, man, for a social media relationship, I feel I did the best I could. I was there for him, sharing my story of experience, strength, and hope. I was there and I listened. But I couldn't buy his sobriety for him. I couldn't be sober for him. He had to do that.
And Glenn, you and I both know that there was nothing that anyone, words didn't matter to us, right? They didn't matter to us. There was nothing. People told me I was going to lose my family. I was going to lose my career. I was going to lose my kids. I was ruining. I heard all those things, right? People told me on the other side of it that there was a solution, that there was hope, that there was something more to live for. I didn't listen to the words, So there was no magical tweet you could have put out there, if that's even what they call it. There was no magical post you could have, pretty Instagram message that you could have pulsated out there, that until you're ready, you can't. Until you're ready, you can't take that step, right?
Yeah, and I think early on when I was trying to starting to sponsor folks, I took their success 100% on my shoulders.
Yeah,
and that just and then I started looking at how my sponsor handled me, right? And he's like, hey, my job is to carry the message. My job is to be there. My job is not to carry you. Right. His scorecard is not how I do.
Right.
It's how he delivers the message. And I don't know, man. It's not all unicorns and rainbows.
Yeah. Likewise, I hand out my number a lot at meetings there. So there's a tradition for those that know it, and in AA, you build numbers in an arsenal of phone numbers in your phone. And traditionally, when you go to meetings, there'll be a lot of swapping of phone numbers. So I give my number out a lot. I got a call.
So if you give it out 20 times, how many calls you get?
Well, it doesn't matter how many. It matters how impactful they are. So I get a call. I get a random call, and the dude is on the street. He's trying to get into detox. He's shaken. He's physically sick. And he's at some intersection in the inner city, and he's got nowhere to go. And he calls me. And,
Wow.
Since that day, so what I did was I said, I need to
He
get
was
you some.
intoxicated, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
I said, I need to get you some resources.
Yep.
I need to be there for you, but you've got to give me 10 minutes. And I hung up and I made 10 phone calls. And the best advice I got was, and I should have been more prepared with this because I didn't realize we would go this direction.
Who'd you call?
I ultimately gave him the phone number for SAMHSA, I think it's called.
Mm-hmm.
And it's we have it listed in our
suicide
resource
hotline?
room. Yeah, right. And addiction care. So, I mean, they'll and they handle everything. They can handle everything from getting you into detox,
SAMHSA.
Yes, SAMHSA.
Okay. Okay.
Yes. And that was the best I could do for him.
Did you call Matt G?
Huh?
Did you call Matt G?
I don't know if I called Matt G. If he was one of my 10
Stevie
calls.
G?
Here's the point. The point is, Glenn, we put ourselves in that position because we have a desire to be a bridge for people that are in the water right now. And when they're ready to reach out of that water, we need to have given them something to hold on to. And that's a risk we're going to take because this is what we want to do. It is my desire to help somebody out of that drowning water, that water that's, right?
Yeah, it's funny. I'm processing it, and it's almost like, a lot of people put their names in that card, right?
Yeah.
But, again, I believe this is my purpose. I went through what I went through, and it makes me qualified to help somebody, right? That, so I have 10 phone numbers too, and I've had to use them at times. I've had people call me in desperation, and they're like, and I go through 9 of them, and my 10th one is 911.
Yeah, right.
Because you know what? All I am at that point, I am not help. I am a switchboard.
That's right. That's all I was for this guy. And
I'm like, you know what? Boom, to me, I'm
Yes.
going to connect to you to you, and I'm going to connect you to you, and I'm going to connect. It's like the old wires and the old-fashioned switchboards.
Right. Sure.
I mean, that's how I view myself. Nothing comes out of my mouth. I am a resource of tools, and I'm spewing tools at that point. And frankly, the 9 phone calls before 911, the 9 phone calls are people that help me, right? Mm-hmm. And I was a level of acuteness, right, where I knew, and I have been through enough detoxes and enough hospital visits and enough. I have the game down, right? And so that's where I think, we always say God's turn our mess into a message. I think He's turned our mess into a resource for other people that are going through the mess. But you can't help everybody.
No, you can't.
And what's amazed me, and I'm saying this to be real, but it's, I regret getting that text. I feel bad for him.
I felt terrible.
Because I think I know 1,000% that there's a solution, and it seems like he didn't find it.
Right.
He didn't grab on. And part of it is I'm like, man, I shared my mess, my message, my solution, right? And maybe I didn't say it the right way. Maybe I should have sang the rap song instead of social media text, right? Maybe when I was out there in LA, I should have hooked up with them. I don't know, but I don't. You know what? I question only to sharpen myself for the next call.
Right.
I don't question to beat myself up because in that situation, I've assessed it. And I'm like, hey, I did all I could for the guy in that in that scenario. Right. And hey, I learned maybe for the next guy, but hey, I just hope and pray, because suicide is a permanent solution
to a temporary
problem.
That's right.
I mean, we know that.
Yes.
We know people that have been on the cliff of suicide. They step back and they change their lives and prove that what they were going through was total desperation, but there was a way out.
You're talking to a guy.
Yeah.
You're talking to a guy that was on the ledge, And
totally, man. I mean, there's a way out. So, I mean, you know what? We've done some episodes recently about the fun of sobriety, and hey, you know what? It's like when we go to church and we hear the message about the holidays, and like, oh, holidays, jingle, jingle, ho, 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 jingle bells. But there's people in there that are sitting in absolute pain with what they're going through in their life at that time. And I think it's okay to bring up an episode where, like, hey, there's a real side of sobriety. It's not all unicorns and elephants and rainbows.
Right.
There's pain, and what can we learn from that? What tools can we use? Do we have the right tools? Do we need new tools?
And
right?
Are we ever going to be perfect at it? I mean, we're not.
I think it's an art and a science.
Mm-hmm.
I think the science comes when you dial 911. I think that's when the science. But I mean, it's really an art. Helping and working with people is an art.
And I don't think the result is up to you. I go back to the result wasn't up to my sister. Gave me such strong advice when I was deep in my addiction. She gave me sound, practical, logical advice. She didn't have the right words to get me out of my addiction. It wasn't until I gave up the fight that I realized, then I hung on to her words because they were in my memory. But the practical, when they were coming out of her mouth, made no sense to me. And, it's timing. And you know what? It's not always our timing. It's not our timing. We can't manage the clock.
I think it's carry the message the best that you can, best format, the best way that you can. And you can't carry the alcoholic. You can't carry the result.
Right.
I don't know. But, as much as we spent a couple minutes here looking at the ugly and real side, there's a great upside to sobriety.
Well, I'm going to tell you, I introduced, I might have shared this before, but I was out in a social setting and ran into a sponsee, and the sponsee was with somebody else, and they said, "This is Mike. He saved my life." And then he gave me a big hug.
Man, that's amazing.
I didn't do anything. I was just, as you suggested, I only just told him how I got out of the miry muck.
Yeah, it's funny. I recently went to dinner with my sponsor and his new girlfriend. And, they've been dating, I don't know, 3 or 4 months or whatever, right? And and they've known each other their whole lives, right? Mm-hmm. So it's not like, they're just met on match or whatever. Right. So they know. So I said, look, you think you know the guy sitting next to you? I said, I'm going to spend 5 minutes telling you a side about him that he didn't tell you. I said, because he's too humble. I said, the guy saved my life. Right. So I did the exact same thing. And for 5, 7, 8 minutes, I just went on like, here's what he did here. Here's what he did here. Here's what he did for 2 years here. Here's what he did here. And I just railed for 8 minutes. And she was, I had no idea. I'm like, he's my lighthouse. He's my savior, man. And it's really how I look at it, because the guy never gave up on me. Everybody said, oh, what are you doing? What are you sponsoring him for? He's such a failure. He relapsed again for the 50th time. He's in another hospital. What are you doing? You're wasting your time. Mm-hmm. He's like, I'm not giving up. Mm-hmm. And now I got 8.5, whatever, you're sober. So I don't know, man. I appreciate the opportunity to come out and just kind of put that out there. And, I don't think we're going to put a bow on it, but
but there is hope out there, and
I just hope he shows up.
Yeah,
there is a solution.
There is a solution.
I mean, it's unbelievable. And what's amazing is my whole life, asking for help was a failure, And what I've learned the last 10 years is asking for help with the people in AA is a superpower.
Yep.
Without a doubt, it's a superpower. When you ask for help, help is there in so many ways. And here's the thing that goes against the normal human nature. Nobody asks for anything in return.
Right. Yep.
That's not how the world works. That's one of the very unique early things I learned about AA is these people are different. You did what for me? And you didn't ask for anything?
Right.
You don't want money back? You got my car pulled out of the airport that was parked for a week because I couldn't find it because I was too drunk? You don't want money back? I mean, what? I mean, nothing works like that.
Can I pile on for a second, though?
Yeah.
And that is that there might be somebody listening who's in a dark spot, right? And so to them, I say two things. I say, first of all, reach out to SAMHSA. Go to our website. There's a resource room. So Sober.Coffee, www.Sober.Coffee. Go to the resource room. There's a plethora of resources out there. Also, if AA isn't the solution for you, don't give up. There's other solutions. Just don't give up the fight. Take whatever ounce of energy you have left and fight for yourself. That's all I want to say.
All right, brother.
Love you.
Love you too, man.
All right. See you next week.
All right. Keep swimming.
Thanks for joining us for today's coffee chat. To contact the show, email us at podcast@sober.coffee. If you need immediate help, the AA hotline is 800-839-1686. The National Suicide Prevention Hotline is 800-273-8255. Remember, Mike and Glenn are sharing their own journey on the path to recovery. Any suggestions, medical or otherwise, are their own experiences and should not be viewed as professional advice. See you next week, and remember, there is a solution.